This is the SANS Space History Center. It's located in Port Canaveral in Florida, and it's in one of the old 1960s era space buildings. So come join us and let's take a look at their collection.
This is the uniform of Major General Harry J. Sands Jr., for whom the museum is named after. And the Launch Complex 1 and 2 is the original ones at the Space Center, and it was opened from August 1952 to December 1960. And they experimented with the Snark intercontinental cruise missiles. These are some mirror fragments from a blast. This is a V2 jet vane motor. Launch Complex 3 was active from 1950 to January 1958. And they launched some Polaris missiles, as well as Snark, Matador, and Jason missiles. Launch Complex 4, they first was active from September 1952 to April 1960. And they launched some Redstone missiles. Here's a model of the Redstone. This is a piece of a Juno rocket that exploded on July 16, 1959, and a model of a Juno rocket. This is the Project Mercury Boilerplate capsule. Launch Complex 5 and 6. They were active from April 1955 to July 1961, and they launched Redstone and Jupiter and Juno. And Ham the Chimp participated in these missions January 31st, 1961. This is a light from the service tower at Complex 5, where astronaut Alan Shepard became the first American in space on May 5th, 1961. And he signed this later. And Launch Complex 9 and 10, that was active from November 1956 to April 1959. And they launched Navajo, Jason, and Alpha Draco rockets. Launch Complex 11 was active from July 1958 to April 1964. And it launched Atlas B, Atlas D, Atlas E, and Atlas F rockets. This is the BE-4 engine testing. This is the General Electric Mk2 Reentry vehicle, and it was used on the Atlas ballistic missiles. Launch Complex 12. That was active from January 1958 to November 1967. And they launched Atlas A, Atlas C, Atlas D, Atlas Able, Atlas Agena. This is the Rocketdyne LR-89 rocket engine. The booster that lifted off the rockets. This is Launch Complex 13, and it was in operation from August 1958 to April 1978, though it is currently has been used for SpaceX as a landing zone. It's unfortunately, it was also known as the location where the Monkey Goliath was launched unsuccessfully on November 10th, 1961. This is a pivot pin from the Launch Complex 14 gantry. A little history on WD-40 and its ties to NASA, and specifically the Atlas missile. The WD stands for water displacement, and the number 40 represents a 40th attempt to devise a formula that would work. This is Launch Complex 14, and it was first active from June 1957 to November 1966. And it was the place where the first atlas was launched in June 1957. The chimpanzee Enos was the first living creature launched by the U.S. into Earth November 29, 1961, and the first 4 manned orbital Mercury flights, that of John Glenn, Scott Carpenter, Walter Schirra, and Gordon Cooper, took place from this launch pad in 1962 to 1963. And some of these historic flights. And this is the Aerojet LR-91 rocket engine, which was used as the second stage on the Titan launch vehicle. This is Launch Complex 15, and this was active from February 1959 to April 1964. And there was the first launch of the Titan 1 took place here, and 16 launches of the Titan 2. Launch Complex 16. That was active from December 1959 to March 1988. And some of the vehicles they launched from here were the Titan 1, Titan 2, Pershing 1A, and Pershing 2. And this is the Asset. And the Asset program was a series of 6 test flights between 1963 and 1965 to study the effects of the aerodynamic heating on spacecraft materials and structures at hypersonic speeds. This is Launch Complex 17, and it was active from January 1957, and it remains active to this day. And it's launched the Thor, Thor Able Star, Thor Delta, Delta, and Delta 2 and Delta 3. And Launch Complex 18, active from December 1956 to June 1965. It was the first U.S. attempt to launch a satellite in Earth orbit on December 6, 1957, and it was a failure. Second U.S. satellite was placed in orbit on March 17, 1958, the oldest man-made object that still remains in space. This is the Gemini Vehicle Test Console. Extremely advanced back in the 1950s and 60s. We have a flown heat shield fragments from Gemini and the thruster from the Gemini spacecraft. This is Launch Complex 19. It was active from August 1959 to November 1966. They launched the Titan 1, the Gemini Titan 2, and 2 unmanned and 10 manned Gemini missions took place at this launch pad. And here are the astronauts who, from the Gemini program, who participated. Launch Complex 21 and 22, active from March 1957 to July 1963. And it included the Bull Goose decoy missile research and development and the MACE surface-to-surface tactical guided missile programs. This is a model of the MACE missile. This is a model of the Poseidon on the left and the Trident 1 on the right. This is the PGM-19 Jupiter Reentry vehicle. Launch Complex 26, which was active from August 1957 to January 1963. First U.S. satellite, Explorer 1, was successfully launched from here January 31st, 1958. And 2 monkey flights were to determine if life could be sustained in space environment. Gordo on December 13th, 1958, and Able and Baker on May 28th, 1959. The 3 monkey knots. An old postcard commemorating the monkeys. Include that fancy necklace, very stylish. And of course they made the cover of Life magazine. They survived the flight. And Launch Complex 29, which was active from September 1959 to May 1980. And one of the main programs was the U.S. Navy Polaris submarine launched ballistic missiles. A model of the U.S. Navy Polaris. This is the MGM 31A Pershing 1 nose cone. Which requires a extension into the ceiling. The AFCO Mk5 Reentry vehicle. It looks like it has sustained some use. And Launch Complex 30 was active February 1960 to April 1963. And it was the site of the first Pershing 1 missile launch. Launch Complex 34. It was active from October 1961 to October 1968. They launched the Saturn I, Saturn 1B rockets. On January 27th, 1967, a capsule fire claimed the lives of Apollo 1 astronauts Roger B. Chaffee, Virgil Gus Grissom, and Edward H. White II. Launch Complex 36, active from May 1962 to February 2005. And they launched the Atlas Centaur, Atlas G, Atlas I, Atlas II, Atlas IIA, and others. And the 7 Surveyor spacecraft were launched to soft land on the moon. 4 Mariner spacecraft launched to Mars and 1 to Mercury. And later 2 Pioneer probes were launched to Venus in 1978.
One of the historical facts that most people don't know about.
This is a cue ball instrumentation cover. This is an inertial measurement unit. And a mission prayer from the Falcon 9 Dragon. And Launch Complex 41, which was active from December 1965, remains active. And a lot of Titan missiles were launched from here, Atlas V. The Viking 1 was launched here on August 20th, 1975, the first spacecraft to land on Mars. Voyager 2 was launched from here on August 20th, 1977.
Yes.
And both of them have flown into space,
Yes.
further into space than any other spacecraft.
Okay.
Some models of Atlas V rockets. And this is the Arcus nose cone on the left and the Arcus instrumentation package on the right. Okay, this is from LC-18. This is the Vanguard FM telemetering. Models of the Minuteman 1, Minuteman 2, and Minuteman 3. And this is the PWN-10 Super Loki Dart sounding rocket, an LAU-66 launcher.